Welcome everyone! On this channel we talk about the beautiful and complicated life of nomads. So let's begin!
Hi everyone, my name is Elena. I'm the host on this channel. I was born in Serbia, lived in France for 16 years, now I live in the UK. I speak 4 languages. I worked as a flight attendant for 10 years and I know a lot of nomads that I have met all through the years. I love talking about travels and different experiences that people have been through, different countries and different cultures, and I'm very excited to welcome my guest today, whose name is Meredith and who is a female nomad that will introduce herself just in a few moments. Hey Meredith, how are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. It's lovely to meet you finally.
Same.
How is life? So I can see the lovely virtual background. You're on an airplane ready to go where?
I'm always on a plane somewhere in my imagination.
So do you mind just introducing yourself briefly and tell us where you're from and which languages you speak, etc., etc.?
Sure. I'm Meredith. I'm born and raised in San Diego, California. That's the name and inspiration. I was very much intrigued by Carmen Sandiego as a young child, both obsessed with espionage as well as travel. And that show just kind of combined the best of both worlds for me. And I'm loving the whole Where in the World, which I use as my own tag. So it's Where in the World is Meredith San Diego, because you just never know. I am completely travel addicted and currently living in southern Spain, in Andalusia, as we like to say, in one of the most beautiful provinces in the entire region, which is the name of Cadiz. I don't know if you've ever been there, but I highly recommend it. Yeah, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So it's a little colder than I would like these days, but we're getting through. Can't complain too far. How many languages do I speak? Well, I used to speak 4 very well. I can probably say now I speak 2 very well, and I'm working on upping my 3rd. The 4 languages that I have spoken or known how to speak in my life are my mother tongue of English, native North American English, that is, because there is a difference between English and spoken around the world. And then I speak a little bit of Spanish, which is what I'm enhancing now. That's my location. I also have lived and worked with the U.S. Peace Corps in North Macedonia for 3 years. So I do speak Macedonian rather conversationally. It used to be much better, but now as I work on my Spanish, my Macedonian is dipping just a bit more. And then I am partially a Pacific Islander and Filipino, so we also have that language around me all throughout my life. So I speak a little bit and understand a little bit of Tagalog as well.
Oh, a proper nomad. I love it. So in Macedonia, so they speak a language. Well, Macedonian is very, very similar to Serbia, because we were a same country once upon a time. So
is that where you are? Are you in Serbia?
I'm from Serbia, but I live in the UK at the moment. Yes.
Super,
да.
Svaki se zboravaš na makedonski, na srpski, vamo, venga.
Razumem, ne zboravam. I understand. It's difficult because it's different words, but it is, we understand each other. It's very, very, very similar. So, that's lovely. So do you work while you're over there, or do you work remotely? How does it?
Yeah, I originally came to Spain after spending almost a year in Thailand as a digital nomad. And working online and teaching online. And then I got a co-teaching part-time gig here in Spain, which brought me to the country. So I was co-teaching English to young Spanish children and sometimes adults off and on for about 3 years. And now I've transitioned away from teaching and lean completely on my freelance content creation and copywriting freelance activities.
Oh, and a little bit of a spy as well, probably, as you said. We won't talk about that.
It's funny because I've always been obsessed with that. And when I joined the Peace Corps, I was actually 33 years old, and I'm 41 now, but 33 at the time. And I found out that the CIA and things like that, these covert operations stop recruiting people over the age of 30. So I was heartbroken. So I'm too far gone now for them to even consider me. But in my mind, yes, I'm doing spy-like activities.
It must be an exciting job, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'll be taking the risk to.
Nah. I'm far too keen on being lazy these days to to be a spy.
So you are, that's one part of your, I'd say, business online, is that you on your own, you're a female traveler.
I am. I'm very, very proud of it. I'm a solo female backpacker. I spent 3 years solo backpacking across 6 continents. It was quite the adventure. And then, of course, decided to relocate myself to Spain after a small travel hiatus that I spent in Thailand, as previously mentioned. And then once I got to Spain here at the end of 2019, rounded the corner into 2020, which was the pandemic. So it pretty much grounded me the same way that it did everybody else, which had me just reeling off of all of the memories that I had had the opportunity to create up until that point. Realize that I actually have tons of insight and strategy that I can apply to traveling. And so I have parlayed that into doing strategic travel consultations that people can access via my website, which also doubles as a location where I house my adventure travel blog full of solo female traveling and just solo traveling tips and tricks, including adventure travel and sustainable travel methods.
Oh, amazing! So we'll share the information for your website in the description box down below, so people can access that and come and learn from you. It sounds really, really exciting, and I love traveling on my own, if I'm being honest. So that was obviously my early 20s before I had kids. I traveled on my own, and I just found it. How did people react? How did people react around you? Because for me, it was always they were always very wary and, oh yeah, it's dangerous to travel on your own as a female. Did you have a few people?
Oh, of course, you're going to have those people who say it, and they're speaking from places of love because they care about you and they want to make sure that you're safe and sound. But it also comes from their own places of fear because it's probably likely something that they wouldn't do themselves. So they're a little bit skeptical of you being able to go and do it on your own. But my first solo female traveling trip was in 2014, and I took myself to Southeast Asia for about 3 months, just about. And I traveled all around. I did a stint in Thailand. That was the first time I traveled to Thailand. I also did some time in Malaysia and also in Indonesia. And it was quite the experience. And my very first solo trip is nothing like how I solo trip these days, because there were tons of mistakes that I made and just far, far too much that I learned about myself in positives and negative ways. But it was the door that opened it for me, and I loved it. And these days, people embrace the fact that I'm going solo. They expect that I'm going to go solo, and they tread carefully when they try to invite themselves on trips with me, when they ask me what I'm doing, because they know I'm making plans to go solo because I genuinely enjoy it. But now it just depends on the location, if they are going to express any kind of fear or say, like, are you sure you want to go alone? It's more locational determined.
All right. Yeah. So tell us, share with us a few of the mistakes that you've done when you traveled for the first time.
Oh, man. Failing to, I actually just posted about this on my Instagram. It's really great. I did a series of like a carousel, is what they call it, when they have multiple things to swipe on social medias. And it was from a collection of tweets that I had put together about all of my rookie mistakes that I've made, or amateur mistakes as a traveler. And some of them were quite hilarious, including like not like double checking my flight, like when I arrive and take off, and that if public transportation is actually working at those hours of the day, because I had to learn the hard way that Uber is not something in every country. So, it was like a privilege that you're used to that you forget this does not exist everywhere. Yeah. There was also just like those little petty mistakes, of like, well, in Vietnam, it happened actually a couple of times when I booked a hotel stay or a hostel stay on a third-party site, like Booking.com or something else like that, and get to the place and it doesn't even exist. Like the hotel is no longer even there.
Oh, God.
Tons of little mistakes like that.
So I think getting somewhere late at night is the one thing I wouldn't recommend. Somewhere new, somewhere that somewhere new. Late at night.
And you don't know the language, and like if your mother tongue is not the typical language there, it can't easily be found. It can be very, very difficult.
Istanbul, and because I was so worried, I don't know why, it was 2 of us, actually 2 female traveling, but we got there I think at midnight, and luckily we had someone that had booked a taxi for us, and he was afraid for us for some reason. he was the native there, and he was like, okay, you're 2 females traveling. He was being overprotective.
Yeah.
Turns out he was a psychopath, actually. But
I was going to say that can go one of 2 ways. Either he's trying to plant the seed of trust in your minds, or he really genuine. And that's the thing as a solo female traveler as well. You realize that you have to kind of always be a little bit of a skeptic, which is kind of kind of crappy, but also like really necessary because there are opportunists out there and they will try to take advantage. So
definitely. How did you come up with do you have a perfect backpacking method now? Like, how do you pack? Because that's one of the videos I'm going to do soon, is properly and perfectly pack your backpack when you're going traveling for a month, let's say.
Oof, I would just say, even though it's a backpack, do not think that using packing cubes is a good idea, because it really is. It's a space saver for sure. Also, what I call military style, which is like rolling up the clothes into some like tight little, I don't know, cinnamon rolls, however you want to say it, fruit roll-ups. Rolling your clothes up as well also saves space. So any kind of little packing tip that you can have to do that I would definitely recommend, but definitely use packing cubes. And then I also got in the habit of the outer parts of my pack, that could be easily accessible by people when traveling or transporting my bag. I would actually use that to stash my like dirty clothes and dirty underwear. So just in case they were thinking they were going to get something good out of there. Really.
Right. I wasn't going there when you started talking about it. That's very well. Yeah. For me, I just put the accessible stuff that I will need, like pajamas or whatever, the accessible stuff.
That's if I put like on the very, very top on the inside of my bag, because I'll do lock that and latch it with the lock, you know what I mean? But on those outer zippers, it's just all dirty clothes and stuff like that. So good luck sticking your hands in there, coming out with anything really great.
That's a good tip. That's a very good tip. One thing as well, I'm not sure if you do that, but again, as traveling on your own, female or male, I find it's always good to have copies of your ID and passports and things, just in case you lose one, so you can still go to an embassy or whatever, and it just makes it slightly easier if you have a photocopy of your ID or your passport, and extra cash hidden somewhere in the bag as well.
I mean, that's always a good thing. I like to stay away from extra paper and things like that from a sustainable aspect. So I always encourage people to go digital. So I'll have a copy of it digitally on my phone as well, which is in the cloud if needed, if you lose your device. I know that's what people worry about, but if you have it in the cloud, you shouldn't have to worry about that. I also have memorized what my passport number is. So I will also recommend that to people just in case things are misplaced. But it is a good practice, especially if you're new to solo traveling or traveling in general, to make sure that you do have a copy of it, or your emergency contact person, you can leave a copy of it with them.
Talk about your sustainable lifestyle and sustainable travel. What is it in particular that you do to make it sustainable? You mentioned paper and going completely paperless. What else?
I try not to get too high horsey about it. I have been in the past with people, but I've also realized that there's just so much that I still have yet to learn. And I love when I can learn from other sustainable travelers, little tips and tricks of the trade. And I always love to like pass those on to my followers instead of gatekeeping them. But I do, in short, the answer is I do what I can do, because there's a lot of things that are in our control that we can change, and there's plenty of things that are out of our control that we can't change. Like, for example, I do use a lot of air travel. Now, that would be something that people would argue immediately, like that, how sustainable is that? But they also forget how much I love and endorse overland travel. And now that I am on and living in the European continent, overland travel is primarily the only way that I have traveled, especially during the pandemic. So also, you never catch me without a water tumbler or canvas bag, like some of those little simple things that people can implement, but they just don't, because I disdain single-use plastic. So I also have my own traveling set of like bamboo utensils and cutlery and things like that to go on my travels with. Pick locations to travel based on their own sustainable efforts. Like, I know last year when I was deciding where I was finally going to travel after the pandemic ended, I was stuck on a couple of locations, and after doing some research, I figured that the one that I definitely needed to see was Iceland, and that's exactly what I did. So I treated myself for my 40th birthday to about a 3-week gallivant all throughout that island, and it was incredible being able to stand on glaciers that my little sister probably won't even be able to see in her lifetime unless she goes within the next 30 years. Learning about all of their sustainable living efforts. Like, it was an amazing experience to see that, and to bear witness to some of these natural elements that are just going to die, that are not going to be there.
We have so much to learn from people there from Iceland. It's such a shame that we don't. It's because they respect nature so much, and they use nature, and they are just, it's an amazing country. I loved it. So do you think it's easier or more difficult for a female to travel on her own?
I'm going to say it's perspective. For me, it's simple. From outside looking in, it's not. I mean, I'm sure people are just like, wow, why do you do that? And the things that I hear all the time from men who invite themselves into my life about it, like, well, why on earth would your husband let you travel like this? Well, sir, why on earth are you assuming that I'm married? And also, why would it be up to him? But so from the outside looking in, people are going to say different things, but it's all about your own perspective and how much courage and trust you want to put in yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you. Where is your next trip? Do you have anything planned for 2023, or how many trips do you have planned?
I stay making plans. The reality of if those plans come true or not is a whole other topic. But I'm currently like smack in the middle of my immigration case to get a more permanent type of residency, since the residency I did have was linked to my teaching, aka a student visa. So now I'm working more towards an autonomous or self-employed kind of visa. It's not the digital nomadic visa that everyone keeps hearing about, which is not live. No matter what you see online, it's not happening yet. It is up for vote, and it's very possible it's going to pass, but it is not actually live yet, and it probably won't be until like March, maybe April time. But so I'm working more towards a self-employed kind of visa, and that's going to take some more time because this is Spain, and that's what happens. Bureaucratic things just take lots longer. But I'm hoping that by the summertime I can free myself up. I have my eyes on about like a 4-week trip overland from Nairobi to Cape Cod down in sub-Saharan Africa. And I just would be beside myself if I could join that trip. Yeah, but that trip is supposed to cover like 7 different countries. So I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to do it because that would be stellar, especially having not been able to go anywhere yet this year.
What I wanted to ask as well is that most people, we go out and we visit lots of countries, but we don't visit our own country in the end. Our own country is the one that we know the least. So the US being so big and with so many different things to view and to explore, have you actually taken the time to visit the US?
I am definitely guilty of that, of not seeing enough of my own country. I think there's plenty of like natural wonders and things that are like literally on my home turf that I haven't even seen. Like I've not seen the Grand Canyon or Niagara Falls or any of these places that people as tourists would automatically assume that I would have seen. But I also think about it like this, like I'm only going to be young once, and I can always go back to my home country, and my home country thankfully is really well set up for like van life or RVing and stuff like that around. So while I can still spelunk and hike Machu Picchu and things with my own set of hips and knees without any replacements necessary, my older years or less mobile years, still see a lot of my own country. But I am very guilty of doing that very thing. Yes.
I think that's most people, yes. But as you say, it's a great point, actually. In the US, it's so well set for camping and something that you would do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah? Especially now since I've adopted a little pup. Like I think that would be so great to just me and her on the road or like visiting all these great national parks. And another thing that I really enjoy about that is that in the US, if you buy like an annual pass at one national park, it gets you access to almost all of the 200 plus, I think it is, national parks that are in the entire country. So if you strategically plan that or plan your route well enough, you literally can spend, very little on actually gaining access to these places. Now, I don't think that the access includes like fees for camping or anything like that, or camp outs, but it gets you access to the actual national park, which I think is amazing, because if you're going to van life and see the US, what better way to see it than the national parks and the beautiful undisturbed nature that we still have there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much again for joining me today. And I look forward to hearing more and seeing more photos about your travels.
Yeah. Follow me on all the socials. I'm all the places. And if not, you can always catch me on the website. It's just bagladymeredithsandiego.com. But all you need to do is just Google search Meredith San Diego, and a whole list will come up of where you can find me.
Perfect. I will also put all the links in the description box, so your Instagram and your website and anything else that you might have. Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care, lovely.
You too. Stay nomadic.
Yes, always.